We've got 2 lessons this week, and these are your last 2 lessons, 115 and 116. Okay, and then you'll have a review to do, and then you'll just take your final. All right, so 115 is about factoring algebraic expressions. If you remember, we have we called the algebraic terms monomials, binomials, trinomials. And so if we had this monomial right here, we can break this down, and we're looking for, if you remember, what prime numbers are. And so we take that 10, and we're going to get it down to the lowest we can do is 2 times 5. Okay, 2 does not break down any further, and 5 does not break down any further. And then we have 2 a's, because I have a squared, and I have 3 b's. I have b cubed. So this would be breaking, turning this monomial into, when your homework says factor each expression, this is what it's meaning, taking it down to the parts. Okay, we'll do another one of those. If we have 8, we have this term here, and so 8, we know that can be 2 times 4, but that 4, it can also be broken down, okay? So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2, and then I have 4 a's, I have 5 b's, and I have 2 c's, all right? So that would be, down here, this would be our factor up there, the factored expression. All right, so when we're doing this, what we're really looking for is we're going to be factoring out the greatest common factor out of, it's not out of monomials, it's going to always be out of binomials. Okay, and so we had something very simple like this. We got 2 terms here, all right? And so if we look at, if I break this down on this one, I have 2 times 2 times a times a. And then this one, there's nothing I can do, it's just 2 times a, all right? So when I'm looking for the greatest common factor, I'm looking for what can I pull out that is in both of those. And so I have a 2 and a 2 in both of them, and I have an A and an A. So that is all that I can pull out. So when I do so, I bring that 2A out, and then you see in this term, the 4A squared, what's left is a 2A. All right, now here, this is, don't let it trick you, we've pulled everything out, but we don't have 0 left. Okay, because think about if you went the other way with this and you did 2A times 0, that's going to give you 0. Okay, so it's not 0 that's left, it's 1 that's left. All right, so make sure you get that. All right, if let's do another one. So we have this term here, and again we're going to look at, if we break this down, hopefully you could see 16 and 4, that 4 is going to be the biggest number that's going to come out. So I've got 4 times 4, I have 2 x's and I have a y. And over here I've got 4, 3 x's, and 2 y's. All right, so if we look at what we have in common with both of these terms, I have a 4 and a 4. I have an x and another x and a y. Okay. All right, so what's coming out is 4 x squared y. Alright, so that's what's getting pulled out of both of those terms. Over here, 4 is left over, and over here, xy is left over. And so that's how that one's gonna look. Alright. Alright, so I'll do a couple more of these, and it just kind of takes practice as you get good at it, but you're gonna do more of this even next year, and then you'll be really good when you get to Algebra 1. Okay, so let's see, we're gonna do 32xy to the 4th. There, and that's what it is. Okay, all right, so here, again, kind of like with that 4, I can already see that 16 is the biggest number that's coming out of both of those. 16's coming out of here. 16 times 2 is 32. Okay, so I'm not going to break this all the way down to all those 2's. All right, so 16 times 2, I have an x, and I have 4 y's. Two x's and 3 y's. All right, so looking to see what we have in common. I've got the 16s. I have an x here and one here. I have a y and another one and another one. Okay. All right, so that's what's going to be my greatest common factor. I have 16x, 3 y's, so y cubed. All right. So that's what is coming out of both of those terms. Over here, I have left 2y. We got a minus sign, and over here, all we have is x left. All right, and so that's would be the answer to that one. All right. For a b cubed plus 5. Let's see, yep. This is a squared, and then this is 5. A b cubed. I think that's right. Yep. Okay. All right, so looking at this one, got the number 4 and the number 5. Hopefully you're seeing there's nothing in common with those numbers, okay? So this time, we're not going to be taking any numbers out. I have 2 A's, and I have 3 B's. Over here I have A and 3 B's. Alright, so when we look at it, the A's match, just one, and then all 3 B's. Alright, so what's coming out is AB cubed. Like I said, no numbers. Okay, so over here I have 4A left over, and over here I just have 5. Alright, and that is that one. Alright, we do one more, and this time we're going to do a trinomial. Okay, so we have 3 terms. And as you get better at this, you won't have to break it down into the individual pieces, but for now, I'll just go ahead and do it that way. All right, we have 2xy squared. 4xy, what all on those? 2 and cubed. And 2y cubed. Okay, so this time we have 3 terms. Right, so I have 2xy times y. Got 2 times 2 with that 4. 2 x's, 3 y's, and then I have 2 and 3 y's. Alright, so in common, we have a 2. I have an x here and x here, but I don't have any x's here, so there's x cannot come out, okay? Even though it can come out of 2 of them, it has to come out of all 3. Alright, and then we're going to look at our y's. I've got 2 y's, 2 y's, and 2 y's. Alright, so what is coming out is 2y squared. And in our first term, we're left with x. Our second term, we're left with 2x squared times y. And our last term, we're left with y. Alright, and that is it. That is factoring the algebraic expressions. Alright, our other lesson is we're going to learn the slope-intercept formula. This is just introducing it to you because you'll start using this a lot in algebra. Okay, and so we learned how to find the slope a few weeks ago. Alright, so the slope-intercept, this is equation of a line is what we're looking at. So it's y equals mx plus b. And when you have your line written in this form, it is the easiest way to graph it. Alright, and so what this means, the m is our slope. Okay, so that was that number that we were finding when we were looking at those graphs a couple weeks ago. We were finding the slope, and so that's what m is. And b is what's called the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is where the line passes on the y-axis. Alright, so if this is my coordinates, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so if I have a line that's, we'll say, comes through here, I didn't draw that very well, but okay, so here you can see that my y-intercept is 2. Okay, and so if I was going to write out the equation of this line that I just drew here, I would have, and then if we're to figure out that slope, the slope is going down 2 and over 1. So my slope is going to be negative 2, and we put in the x, plus 2, because 2 is the intercept. If I intercepted down here, then it would be negative 2. Okay? Alright, so this is the equation of that line, where negative 2 is the slope, positive 2 is the y-intercept. Alright, so like I said, when you're given this, and so let's just say we're given an equation, y equals 3x plus 4. Alright, so when I go, if I have it in the slope-intercept form, then it makes it very easy to graph this line. Of course, kind of made me draw this up here. Okay, so of course this grid is not great. So where I want to start is with my y-intercept. Alright, so I'll put a point right there. And so we know that there's a point on the line at 4. And then my slope is basically 3 over 1. So I'm going to go from my y-intercept and plot my next point. So I'm going to go up 3 and over 1. And then I can do that again. From here, I go up 3 and over 1. And so then there, which this isn't going to be that great because this is not perfect grid here. So that's basically the line drawn, okay? So like I said, the first step, you need to get your equations. You want to write them in the slope-intercept form, okay? And so we're going to look at doing a couple of those, and then we'll do another plotting of one. All right, so if I have this equation here, all right, so like I said, we want to get it into this form because this form is how we can graph it very easily. So I want y all by itself, and I want everything else on the other side, okay? So I'm going to add x, and so then I have negative y equals 7 plus 2x, okay? I'm just going to rewrite that here. So all I did was switch those two so that I have my mx plus b, okay? So notice this says negative y. I don't want to know what negative y is, I want to know what y is. All right, so when we do that, we're basically going to, if you want to think of dividing both sides by 1, and I've got to do the same thing over here, the whole thing, okay? And all that does is just change the signs of everything. So I have y equals negative 2x minus 7. And so there's our equation. And we'll be able to easily graph that. And we'll go ahead and do that, okay? Okay, so graphing this line, we're going to start at our y-intercept, which is negative 7. Okay. And then our slope is negative 2. So I go down 2 over 1, and down 2 and over 1. And so my line is going to look something like that. All right, let's do another one of these. Okay. All right, so here's our equation. Like I said, we want y on one side, everything else on the other. I'm going to take these two pieces. So I'm going to minus 4x, and I'm going to add 6. Alright, so over here I have negative y, I have negative 4x, and then I add the 2 and the 6, and we're left with that. Again, this equation didn't like that last one, it left us with negative y, we want positive y. So we're going to divide everything by negative 1. And I have y equals 4x minus 8. All right, so now again we can graph this line. We'll just go ahead and do it the same. This one, we're going to start out at negative 8. Okay, and the slope on here is 4, so we go up 4. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, and up 4. And over 1. And so we can graph or draw out that line, roughly. There. Okay. We'll do one more graphing. So here's our equation. Y-intercept is at negative 4. So we're going to plot that point. And our slope is negative 3, or we say negative 3 over 1. Alright, so that we know we're going down 3 and over 1. And down 3 again, and over 1. And I could go the other way as well. I can go up 3, and then just over to the left, and up 3. Alright. And so that is our line. Okay. That is everything. If y'all have any questions, just email me, and y'all have a good week. All right.